Thank you for coming. I'm Dr. Barnes. I want to share some exciting information with you that could affect your future. And before I forget, I want to remind all of you on the way out, when we finish, to pick up some of this literature up here, the yellow, green, and pink sheets that you might find of interest after I have given my presentation, and a former student will be talking to you as well. So let me start out by asking you, have you thought about your future after you graduate? Like, what kind of job are you going to get? And do you think it's going to be easy or hard for you to get a job? Have you thought about it? Well, I'm here to tell you that we've got a program that can make you very marketable and bring you a big salary, higher than average out of all of the majors in the College of Business. So with that, the name of my presentation is Exploring MIS and SAP. I want to talk a little bit about our program. We offer a BBA in MIS as the major, and we also have a minor in MIS. For those who want to keep their current major and simply pick up the minor, which is not too many hours different in terms of number of hours required to complete it that the major would have. How would you define, I had to do this one time when I first put this program in to a former dean. He said, what is management information systems? How many missing majors are there here? That's it? Well, what is MIS? How would you define it?
One way that I would define it is, like taking data and turning it into useful information.
That's pretty good, Josh. That's pretty good. It is essentially a very short definition of MIS is using technology to solve business problems, plain and simple. Lots of business problems. As an MIS professional, you'll use that technology and integrate and support all of the functional areas of a business. And everybody uses computers in all those functional areas, from accounting to marketing to HR to IT to production to whatever the area is. MIS students learn to analyze, design, develop, and maintain these systems. And those systems are everywhere. And we deal with the internet. And the internet is not going away. It's only becoming greater and greater with our dependence on it. Think of the airline industry in terms of how technology is going to be used. Whenever I fly, I go on to either American Airlines website or Southwest.com website, and I purchase my ticket online. And then 24 hours before I fly out, I download my boarding pass and have every transaction, everything about that trip already done in just a few clicks of the mouse. You probably go online and go to Amazon and some of these other websites, Netflix, and watch your streaming video, Hulu, whatever, and see the beauty and the ease of technology when it's working. When it's working. We can do all of these things and many, many more. Many times during advising, I'm asked, what's the difference between the MIS program and the CIS program? I don't know if you've ever heard of CIS because it's not in the College of Business. Computer Information Systems used to be in the College of Engineering, is now in the College of Fine Arts and Sciences. And our big difference is we focus on transactions and work in business. They focus on developing software, which primarily means programming and coding. Our objective is to be able to implement and maintain and design very efficient, effective systems to support managers' decision making. Theirs is to be sure that they have a program that works. Our core skill is problem solving. Remember the definition. We use technology to solve problems. So we focus on problem solving. That's what employers want you to focus on too, learning how to solve those problems. They focus on logic and procedures of the code. Our core task is to determine the business requirements for our information system, for the software and the hardware. Theirs is to deliver information systems to meet the defined requirements. Our starting job title for our graduates, and there's many different titles that are generic based on the company you work for, but a typical one is a business systems analyst. Theirs would be an application programmer. Their career goals in MIS is to start in that career in one of the different specialized areas of MIS and work your way up that career path to a position in senior level management, whether that be in networking or programming or web design or business intelligence or any of the other specialties that you can focus on working in this field. So that's a pretty impressive career path. You need to be finding out what your career path is for the major that you're majoring in, especially if you're about to graduate. We're in business, they're in arts and sciences. So that's our big comparison. That's the difference. All right, here is our core curriculum for the major. And many of you take some of these courses anyway because they're also part of the business core. The first one is part of the business core. MIS SAP 3310, Principles of MIS. I created that course many, many years ago. Because that started at the senior level. We dropped it down to the junior level about 15 years ago. MIS SAP 3340 is really our networking course, but we've named it IS Infrastructure. You want to learn about networks? You're going to hear a lot about networks from my former student who's going to talk to you when I finish, who deals a lot with networks. MIS SAP 3350, 3360, the 3360 is the Visual Basic Programming course, very easy programming course. Java is a little bit more challenging one, and we should be teaching that, but we need a Java teacher to do that. So we only have that 1 3-hour programming requirement, and it's an easy language. MIS SAP 3370, IS Analysis and Design, that is a critically core course that talks about, we just mentioned problem solving and analyzing and designing requirements. This is the course where you learn to do that in. And you learn a variety of different software. And I'm going to get into the software in just a minute. The MIS SAP 4370 ERP Overview, which is lots of different SAP modules that you learn. You start out taking your first module in MIS SAP 1373. See, that's a core course, but it's not part of our major per se. That's why it's not up there. But everybody is required to take it, and that's where you get your first exposure to SAP. Didn't you love that class and love learning about sales and distribution in that first module? Wasn't hard. And then you learned about materials management in the MIS SAP 3310 class. And you learn all of the others in the MIS SAP 3370. And then MIS SAP 4380 is our capstone IS development course, which you have designed in MIS SAP 3370 that you take in the fall. You implement on the internet in MIS SAP 4380. And you create a link to hold your e-portfolio. You know what I'm talking about? That's your project. And you go on that interview, and you're going to show that employer what you know how to do with all this advanced software. How many of you in any other major have a portfolio of your skills to show that employer when you start interviewing or to get that internship. It really gives you a heads up in terms of a competitive advantage if you have something to document. This is what I've done. I know how to do this. Here's my program. Download it and look at it. Then the MIS 4350 is our project management class, which is a very good class. And then you take these electives, MIS 4390, Business Intelligence, and MIS 3395, ERP, E-commerce, which is another SAP course. In fact, our curriculum focuses on the top 5 trends going on in the business world today. You know what they are? What's trending out there?
Cybersecurity.
Exactly his field. Cybersecurity is a hot one. You know what we're talking about? Keeping hackers out. Keeping your data safe. All right, cloud computing is number 1. Everybody's in the cloud. Okay? Big data. Our name for it in our textbooks is called business intelligence. My former student works in big data. Data, analytics, and cybersecurity. And you just wait till you hear about his job duties. And the opportunity to get an internship at his company. He works at BP in Houston. Big oil company. Everybody's heard of BP. What are the other 2 trends? I've mentioned 3. There's 2 left. Mobile. Everything's mobile. On your phone, applications and application development. And what's left? What else do you do a lot? Huh? Social. That's right. Facebook, all of the social media. That's hot. We cover all of that. Now, we don't really teach much about cybersecurity yet. But next year, we've hired a new MIS faculty whose area of expertise is cybersecurity, and he is going to be developing a new cybersecurity course. State-of-the-art, trendy, standards, benchmark to industry, everything. You're going to hear about some of this stuff when Ronnie talks to you in a minute. Those are the big things that are going on. And the more you know and the more experience you have in those areas, the more marketable you're going to be. This is what companies are looking for. Okay? Now, here's some of the software. All these different modules in SAP. I've had some of my students say, oh, that program is so boring. I'd rather be playing my video games. I said, this program that you think is boring is what's going to get you a good job. I'm going to show you the salaries coming up of what our graduates are making if they work and they have the background and especially the certification in SAP. Salaries go way up. Even without that certification. They come down a little bit, but it's still higher than any other major in this college of business. They got the facts to prove it. Oracle. You ever heard of Oracle, those who are non-MIS? What is Oracle? It started out as a database company, and it evolved into an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning company, which is a competitor to SAP. We teach it from a database perspective. Not anything like really Access, Microsoft Access. It's more high-powered than that. Huge demand for Oracle database people. Dreamweaver is a platform used on the internet. You learn that in the MIS 4380, that capstone course I mentioned. Tableau. You ever heard of that? See, in our BI, our big data, our business intelligence class, when you do multi-dimensional analysis with all of these dimensions, these attributes that you're trying to make sense of, management would like to see those visually prepared so that they can digest that information better. It's a graphical software program that helps understand the analysis of all that data and goes to management. We teach visible analyst in the systems analysis and design course, the 3370. When you're actually designing, creating the symbols for this new system graphically. It's a graphics program. It's easy. Microsoft project, which we're in the process of upgrading. This is what we currently teach in the project management course. Right, Dr. Bush? But we're wanting to upgrade to the industry standard Primavera. And then, of course, our basic Microsoft Office. Everybody has that, who's been working on that for years. Okay? Here's some of the career titles that some of our students work in. As I said earlier, a business analyst, a consultant, a systems analyst, database administrators. Now, they don't go out. See, these are careers that you could focus on. Database is a very specialized niche, as is networking. But that would be at the top of your career. You could go out as a data analyst. A lot of data analysts working with database software and SAP data analysts. Web designers, IT data analysts, customer support specialists, lots of different careers in MIS. Okay? These are some of the companies employing our graduates. Here are their job titles. Here's the company. Here's their salary range. SAP consultant for Accenture. You ever heard of that big, high-powered accounting consulting firm? She's making, in this range, 105. She is SAP certified, though. When you get that certification, it raises your salary requirements up by about $15,000 a year. So that's not bad money for somebody who's 25 years old. IT specialist between 55 and 60, University of Utah, business data analyst at Apple, yay Apple, in Austin, 65 to 70. Technical support, working for Rolls-Royce, how about that? 55 to 60. Customer support analyst in Austin. A lot of our students are congregating in Austin. That's our Silicon Valley of our state. 55 to 60. Professional services consultant, 80 to 85,000. NetSuite is an ERP competitor to SAP. Here's one working for Tableau. They learned the software, now they're working for the company. 55 to 60. Service consultant, the new office in Austin, 50 to 55, and you see it all the way down. Textron, 50 to 55. HP, we have several, at least two, working at HP in Houston, starting out at 60, in the range of 60 to 65, depending on how long they've been there. Another one in Austin, 45 to 50. Another one in Austin, 45 to 50.
This is not comprehensive.
That's right. It's only a few.
Yeah, at present at HP we have 5 working and several are interviewing also.
Great. Everybody's heard of Hewlett Packard, and you knew it split into 2 companies. Yes, sir.
Is this starting salaries?
Yes,
This
yes,
is starting
yes,
salaries? This is
yes,
exactly
yes, exactly. I would never lie to you. These are factually based because we have a huge database that we enter our graduates into when they get their first job.
Okay, so this is just the first job. It's
That's
like the
right.
very bottom
This
level.
is
Right.
starting salary without
Starting
expense.
salary.
All right, what are we talking about? Like maximum, like top out probably. Like maximum, 5 years. That's like nothing. Well, not nothing, but it's like 1 over 6 figures.
Now,
what
the
is
one
it?
who works at Accenture did
Yeah.
work for another company. When she was hired for the first company 3 years ago, you know what her offer was? 80,000.
85.
Was it 85? 85. And that was because she was certified, 10 certified. And then with 2 or 3 years of experience, she wrote us an email last summer and said, hey, they hired me for 105,000. So what I want you to do is to check the entry-level jobs in your major, whatever your major is. They're not going to come close to this. And if they do, you come tell me, because I've seen them and I know what they pay. You gotta have some skills. You gotta know some technical, hands-on software that's in great demand. Okay, now, you could get a double major. It goes very well. A BBA, MIS goes very well with the BBA in accounting. They're related. In fact, some of our better students have majored in both. Accounting and MIS, they had anywhere from 6 to 8 job offers, and they couldn't decide, do I want to work in accounting or do I want to work in MIS? Some of them went the accounting route, but they were SAP certified. And some of them went the SAP route, outside of accounting. But auditing accounting systems that use SAP. So any of your existing majors that you're working on now, you could pick up a double major. 24 hours is the major. Okay, the minor is 18 hours. Okay, you take 4 core courses. Everybody's already had 3310 or will have taken it, because that's a business core. And then that's the networking course, systems analysis course, and ERP overview class. And then you choose 2 electives from this list. 18 hours for the minor, if you didn't want a double major. He's going to talk to you about internships. We have internship offers. We post a lot of our jobs, all of our jobs, and our internship offers on our Facebook page. It's called MIS Lamar. Several of you already access it, those who are MIS majors. And you have to join the group. We give you permission. When you ask to join, we'll let you join, and you can see for yourself how many jobs we get. We get more jobs than we have students to fill them. And they will give you the job description with the qualifications and the skill requirements needed to hold that job. And you can see where you fall and match up. We have scholarships, lots and lots of scholarships, internship opportunities. Ronnie's going to talk about his internship opportunities. And just a little part of my discussion, I want to talk about SAP, that it is the world's leading producer of business software. More than 46,000 companies in the world, more than 120 countries run their applications. Our biggest industry is the petrochemical industry here in our 5-county region. And Dr. Bandy and I did a big research project about 10 years ago this spring, and we developed a questionnaire, sent it to the refineries and the chemical plants and asked them, do you use ERP software? And if so, which brand? We listed the brands. 99% use SAP. Which applications do you use most often? We're thinking about upgrading and innovating our curriculum. And we're trying to make the decision on whether we want to get involved in ERP teaching. They wrote back. I got a response back from every questionnaire that was sent out, because I have a lot of former students who work in all these refineries. They said, yes, teach SAP and teach these applications. Make sure they have hands-on working knowledge, because we will not hire any student from Lamar or anywhere else that doesn't have hands-on working knowledge of SAP. That was pretty emphatic. We took that data to our dean and said, we got to start teaching this. He agreed. I said, we want our students to get good jobs, not minimum wage jobs, well-paying jobs, and we want to be able to give industry, our largest employer, we want to meet their demands of what they need us to teach in our curriculum. And see, that's what's so exciting about teaching in MIS, because it's always changing. Technology is always coming out with something disruptive. And it does the same thing to our curriculum. We want to stay current with that. So he agreed. We formed a committee. We wrote a proposal. We submitted it to SAP Alliance. They agreed. He paid the money, $9,000 a year, so that we can set up shop, design a curriculum to make you more marketable and to get you good jobs. And you saw the result, the kind of salaries and the jobs that they're getting. And that was just a random sample. We have many, many more students. Just about everyone who graduates who is a good student That's the key, a good student, 3.0 or higher. Overall, not just in MIS, is getting a good job. Wouldn't that be great? To be in a major where you know if you learn and you do well in the classroom and you learn these skills, that there's going to be a demand for what you know in the real world? That's a fact. So, I want to mention a little bit. I've already mentioned these courses, and that these are the ones that teach SAP. But I want to talk to you just for a few minutes about what we offer for about the last 6 years between the end of the spring semester and the beginning of summer 1. It's our 2-week boot camp called Turk 10. Maybe you've heard your friends talk about it. Maybe some of your friends have taken it. It is an intensive training session over SAP modules, about 10 different modules, culminating on the last day of the 2 weeks, the Friday of the second week. You take a very, very hard, and you think my tests are hard, nothing compared to this test. To pass that certification exam, and some students pass it, some of them don't because they don't study enough. And once you get that lowest level of SAP certification, there goes your salary requirements way up. So that is why one of our best students got that $85,000 a year offer 3 years ago. Wasn't it 2012? 13, 12, recently. And is making a 6-figure salary now. So to enable you to enroll in that course, listen carefully, you must have 3 lower level SAP courses. That's the prerequisite. The 1373 course does not count as one of those courses. Let me make that clear. The freshman class does not count. 3310 counts. That's one module. 4370 is a very good class because that's the best preparation to be able to pass Turk 10, that test. 3395, all of those I had listed up here that were SAP enabled. 4370, 3395, 4390, the business intelligence course. And one class that wasn't up there is my class, because I also teach in the management department, Management 4350. I'm the only one that teaches the Human Capital Management module. I offer that class in summer 1. It's at 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. It's a required course for HR majors, but I spend several days orienting them. Human Capital Management is the HR module. That's one of the 3 internal modules. You know about accounting and finance is one, and materials management production is the other, and then HCM is the third one. So you would get that third course if you wanted to take that class, Management 4350. Otherwise, you'd have to take all MIS courses to qualify to enroll in that class. The other thing you need to know, it costs you $500 to take that 2-week boot camp. It truly is a boot camp. Mrs. Simmons, who is our SAP coordinator, and many of you know her because she comes in to your classes when you're working on SAP. She's certified. She teaches that class. You're there from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So if you're working, you need your vacation time, or you need to quit your job, or you need to go to work at night. No, you can't work at night because you got to study. For 2 weeks, you can do that. If the incentive is, I want to make more money when I graduate, I want to be in a field that is high demand, where I know I can get a job, not just any job. You can look around town, there's job offers everywhere. If you want to work at McDonald's and Walmart and Home Depot, $7, $8 an hour, that's not what you're going to college for. You want to make more than that, right? I would think so. You can. If you plan strategically before you get out of here, what can I take that's going to make me more market? That's what I've been spending 30 minutes telling you. This is it. So, I mentioned this earlier. Join our group. MIS Lamar will let you join, even if you're not an MIS major, just to show you the proof of the job opportunities available. Okay? Now, I'm going to turn the program over to a former student of mine. You know when he graduated? Probably before you were born. He started...
Wow.
He graduated in 1991. Were you born then?
Yeah,
I was a young, early in my 20s at that time. Anyway, he had me for, I can't even remember how many classes he had. See, I put in the MIS program one course at a time, way back in 1985, the first computer class, and then what is now the MIS principles class, had been a senior level class, and then the advanced database class, and all of these, he took them all. But see, we didn't have the MIS major then. We had general business with a concentration in computer science. So he took all of these classes in the College of Business, and he took a lot of programming courses over in engineering when computer science was in engineering. And he has an extensive work history. His two fields that he is working in at BP, cybersecurity and data analytics. That's where the jobs are. Plain and simple. He's going to tell you about his jobs, what he's done since he left Lamar, and he's going to tell you about the internship opportunities. And I just want to tell you about the value of networking. We've stayed connected ever since Facebook came out and ever since LinkedIn came out. And so when I'm looking for a good resource, I go back to my network of students and I contact them and I'll say, would you please come over here and talk to the current student? This is your alma mater. I know you want to come home. So he was gracious enough to do it. He brought his wife with him, Gloria. So I'm going to turn it over to Ronnie Dry.
Wow, that was interesting. I took a lot of notes. I don't know about you guys. So I'll start it out real quick just by saying that was cool. I wish I'd have seen something like that when I was sitting back here. I used to sit in this room all the time. I was making jokes earlier about I think I slept through one of my freshman classes right where the guy in the blue hat is. And I still made a B in that class, even though I got a lot of sleep during that. I did 2 stints at Lamar. I graduated from Jasper in 1984, and that's where I get this accent. And so anyway, after coming from Jasper, I started here. I dropped out like after 1.5 semesters. I said, man, I want to go to work. I'm going to make some money. So I went out, made a little money, worked in the oil field, did stuff like that, poured concrete, beat stuff with hammers and all that stuff. Lost the end of my fingers, had them right there. And then came back to work. From work, went back to work, got a little settlement for getting my finger cut off, all that, so I paid to come back to college. And that's when I started in 88, and I did the GPCF program when I came in at that point. Some of the languages they were talking about, teaching Java, Visual Basic, and all that stuff, doing programs and bringing them to your job interview. That struck home with me back then. We programmed in Basic, Turbo, Pascal, COBOL, things like that, DBase 3+. So I wrote in all those languages, and I was talking to Dr. Barnes. Oddly enough, when I got out of school, and I'll talk about it in a minute, I had a job that programmed in exactly those languages. But after my semesters here at Lamar, I spent a lot of time trying to do exactly what Dr. Barnes was talking about, make myself more marketable. How am I going to do that? Because when I went to school, as you can see down there, and I'm not going to cover everything bullet by bullet, you can read, but I worked my way through college, so I had jobs off campus for the first several years. The last year I worked here, I worked in the round building over there in the administrative building, worked for the head in-charge accountant. So spent all my time coming to school from 8 to noon, and then after lunch I went to work. At first I worked from 1 to 9 p.m., and then I went home, started studying about the time the news went on. and then I'd get up and do it again. And anyway, you can see some of the stuff I did. The reason I did a lot of that stuff was I wanted to be involved, but some of the things I did, I wanted to have something to go on my resume, that said, hey, the guy did something other than just go to class and drink beer. And so that's me. You'd see I did some of the leadership Lamar stuff. I did some other fraternities, AK Psi. We met in this room. Hey, there's AK Psi. Hi, sister. She's not paying me attention. AK Psi? It's like, what? Facebook. Anyway, personal bio, like I said, I grew up in Jasper, graduated here in 91. I left, moved to Houston. Moved there the day I graduated. The day I graduated, I had my van packed. I moved all the way to Houston. Had no idea where I was going to work, really, because I thought I was going to work in Beaumont. And things changed. I moved to Houston. I hit the streets of running and pounded, looking for a job. I did exactly what Dr. Barnes said earlier was, believe it or not, I took systems analysis and design. We coded a tool back then. Back then, you coded for a group either on campus or a business around town that wanted a piece of software. And so we did the analysis and the design one semester, and then we coded it the next semester. The trick was we didn't get to code the one we designed. We coded the one someone else designed, and someone else coded ours. Because theoretically, your analysis and design manual should be able to be handed to anyone, and then they just pick it up and code it. So we ended up coding one for the athletic department right across the street over the Montaigne Center. It was the athletic department scholarship management system, or whatever it was called. So the athletes that get scholarships, they have to maintain certain grade point averages and be, whatever it is to meet all those criteria, and that's what we did. Another thing I wanted to mention, I got a bunch of certifications. I'll list some of the major ones I have right there. Dr. Barnes was talking about certifications. If you get a certification while you're in college, man, I think that would be cool in the game. Even under here, I don't dress up much, and this is about as dressed up as I'll ever get. But there's my plug. If you've never been to SANS.org or SANS.edu, go look. That's where you learn all the cybersecurity cool stuff. And so CISSP, that's pretty much the industry standard for people in cybersecurity. Certified Information Security Systems Specialist, professional, whatever it's called. GCFA is a certified forensic analyst, like the CSI people that do forensics on computers and stuff, and I've done that stuff in the past. And a bunch of those other things. But what I really want to talk about is my first job. So I mentioned that earlier. I moved to Houston, just got out of school, and I was like, man, I'm going to be a programmer analyst. People are going to pay me a bunch of money. And that didn't work out at first because really nobody really wanted to hire me because I didn't have much experience. But what I did have was my analysis and design book. I had my program. I had every piece of code, and I had my graded program that said I got an A right there on the front of it. That was part of my portfolio I brought with me. And I probably went through about, in a month's time, I think I had like 10 interviews a week because I really hit it. And back then there wasn't no Google, I mean, I was looking in newspapers, I was reading everything I could. And so I happened upon an interview with a garbage company of all places, BFI. And they had a job to work on their help desk. It was pretty cool because they needed someone to come in that knew microcomputers, DOS, Windows, DBase 3 Plus, Lotus 1, 2, 3. Oh, y'all don't use those anymore. Back then, that's what it was, and that was the hot trend stuff. These guys were all mainframe based, so people were new. They were getting computers put on their desk. They needed people that come in that knew that kind of stuff. I worked in the computing labs. I don't know if they still have them here, where you go in and do your coding or take your Word, Excel classes and all that stuff, and they have a lab, where you do your work. I was one of the guys that signed you in, ran your jobs, did all that stuff back in the day when we had VM running over there. And so I did that for like 2 or 3 semesters. So that was kind of like resume padding. I said, hey, I had a job, I did this, I did this other stuff. But a certification, I think, would go a long way. Bringing your work with you. goes a long way, especially if you're looking for something like programming, etc. To be able to illustrate that I've done things like this before, as alluded to earlier. I moved through a bunch of jobs, and that's kind of typical in the space and area I was at, that people early in their career kind of, you go, hey, I want to be a programmer. And so I worked on that help desk. 9 months later, I got a job as a programmer in the same group. And like I said, the program was perfect for me. It was a PC to PC to mainframe. It was written in Turbo Pascal, DBase 3+, and COBOL. I knew all three. And so I got the job. I was lucky. I told Dr. Barnes I went in for the interview, and the guy that was interviewing me graduated from here. I mean, it was like it was a job made for me, So I got the job. I became a programmer, and what I learned after about a year of sitting in an office programming was I don't like programming. I like programming, but I don't like sitting in the office by myself and someone says, write this, financial system, upload the mainframe routine that transfers the data from, ASCII to EBCDIC and writes it to a COBOL, back in and blah, blah. And I'm like, man, this kind of long-term deal, you have to do a lot of tedious work in your office to get to that end thing way down there that you finally get some satisfaction. So the cool part was it ran on Novell networks. And so I had to put them together, and I realized at that point I liked networking way more than I did programming, so I went that route. And I had a couple of jobs like that. Did some consulting work around town, eventually landing at BP, working right here for a company called Electronics. Started there in 2000. I'm still here at 2016, and I've had a couple of jobs. I jumped into some massive Windows and SAP stuff, where I managed their Windows group globally for years. And then after that, I became a manager in their security group to implement and run their first security operations center. I've been there ever since. Let me go to the next one, because what I want to illustrate is some of the stuff that's changed. And I was writing notes. I was really shocked that a lot of the stuff that they have on that curriculum is stuff we use. And it's stuff I see everywhere. So a lot of the languages they teach, they mentioned Java, VBasic. I don't know if y'all do any .NET or anything like that, but all of those things, they're out there everywhere. Everything we use in several companies I work for is back-ended by SAP in the back end. Oracle databases underpinning that, and lots of stuff like that. But I just did a little comparison. You can kind of look at that stuff. I always laugh because I go, hey, this iPhone that I got in my pocket is like 40, 100 times, million times more powerful than the computer I used when I went to school here. And my computer that I had when I went to school here was an XT286 with 640K of RAM. My iPhone has 16 gig and an A9 processor that can do like a umpteen million, billion, trillion, quadrillion processors per second, transactions per second. My old computer could do less than 1 million per second, and things like that. But some of the things that have changed, you can see, obviously. There was no internet when I went to school.
There was, but the browser went out yet.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't get on the internet. First time I got on the internet was in 1992. And then there was nowhere to go once you got on it, There wasn't any Google or Facebook or none of that stuff. You could go to major colleges like Berkeley and a few other places that had basically invented a lot of that stuff. And a few other places. That was it. Back then, I remember malware. Y'all still get like lots of viruses and stuff around here.
Yes, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, in the computing group, whenever I was there, everybody's always getting viruses on their floppy disks and all this stuff. Y'all don't use floppy disks. But, back then, we were using floppy disks instead of USBs and things like that. And you'd stick them in these lab computers and stuff, and next thing you know, you got something on there you didn't really want. And I remember doing a presentation like this in my analysis and design class, and all of a sudden, the PowerPoint started getting overwritten with squares and triangles and, stuff like that of different colors. And I was like mortified, And so the Colonel Jordan was my professor. He said, man, you got a piece of malware on there. So then the next guy got same thing. And then the next guy got plugged in, same thing. So I don't know if it was the computer or everybody's floppies, but none of them worked. We all had the same thing. Point of it was really just a nuisance. It didn't do anything. It just kind of, overwrote your screen, and it was like a, bothersome, troublesome thing. Today, malware is super advanced. You get a piece of malware these days, those guys, they want your computer to run good. They might even performance tune it for you, so you never know there's anything on there. And it normally can spread without you doing anything. Your computer's on and running, it spreads to something else that's on the network. Back then, you normally had to click, do something. It's called remote code execution. Just remotely executes code against another computer. And can spread and just, it wants to be persistent. It wants to steal your banking details. It wants to steal your credit card data. It wants to make money. That's where it's all at. And one thing real quick about then and now, the changes that have happened over all this time is data. We talked about the cloud, so back then, I can remember my computer, it had a 20 megabyte hard drive that was about that big, And today, you got like a 16 gig drive in your phone that's the size of your pinky nail, So everything's changed. On-site storage is, cheap, but used to be very expensive, very slow. Now everything's in the cloud. You can store oogles of stuff on Google and wherever else. Sync your iPhone to the cloud, and everything just gets magically stored up there in the cloud. And I'll give you one tip is anytime you're talking about the cloud, where I work at, we always talk about if we're putting something in the cloud, we say to remind ourselves of what we're really doing is we say we're putting our data in someone else's data center that we do not know where it is, because that's really what you're doing. Yeah. Real fast, what do I do for a living? One word, I detect things. I detect bad things happening to the place I work. Hackers, workers, people that work there, building. Anything that we consider a threat to our corporation brand, data, people, safety, and processes. Everybody heard of Deepwater Horizon. Oddly enough, today is the 6th anniversary of the explosion in the Gulf of Mexico. April the 20th, 2010. The reason I remember that is I'll never forget that day. Most people that work at BP will never forget that day. It changed our lives working in the group I work in because everybody in the world hated us after that. And our cybersecurity department worked about 2 years straight with no sleep. And we went from about 10 or 20 people to about the 60 or so we have today over the last 6 years. And back then, anybody and everybody, Greenpeace, you name it, everybody that hated us, they were just sending out, social media things to say, hey, everybody download this tool and attack BP at midnight Thursday night, and all you had to do was double click a tool on your computer. And if we get 1 million people around the world to do it, we can bring them down, so what are you going to do? You have to innovate, And so we did. They never brought us down. We're lucky to say. And that's because we use a lot of industry-leading tools, and we have a lot of smart people. But really, when you get down to what do, I collect a lot of data. And it gets down to that data analytics part and knowing networks and databases and all those things. Because the reason I'm able to do what I do today is because I've done all those other things that I did before. And so I did a lot of networking, I did a lot of programming, I did a lot of other things. And I finally found something I really liked, and I stuck with it. And I got really lucky that cybersecurity became a hot field, And, I feel like right now I could go anywhere and work anywhere I wanted. And I'm pretty sure I probably could. I've been also really lucky, doubly lucky, that I did work at a company that made a lot of money, even though they made a huge mistake and had a really unfortunate and critical accident occur 6 years ago today. They also have enough money and budget to afford us to use cutting-edge tools, the brand new stuff. So we get to pick and choose between vendors, test them, trial them, proof of concept them, and touch all of them, and then run through all of their tools and collect and aggregate this data. We do it to find bad guys, to find malicious stuff, and what I'm talking about here is terabytes of data. We collect on average 80 to 150 million events per day from our monitoring systems. And we combine that with threat intelligence data from external sources. We store this on Hadoop clusters on the back end, so we're talking even bigger, more advanced databases. And we store that for upwards of 4 years. Now, in our alerting systems, we store about a year of data, but we can pivot off that data and easily look up a big history, like, hey, tell me anything that IP address has ever done to us before. And we'll see a complete history of it going back as far as our records show, which is about 4 years history now. And I'll mention a couple of things across the bottom of why we do it, and that's to protect our company, our brand, et cetera. So a lot of you heard about Target, what, a year and a half or two ago? I mean, it was all over the news, you know. Even me, I got a letter from them that said, hey, you know, we may have exposed your data. You get free credit monitoring or whatever. And the Sony breach is the same kind of deal. They had a massive breach. I mentioned Saudi Aramco for one reason only, is because I'm in oil and gas, and so are they. They had an attack called Shamoon, and if you want to Google something and read about that, that's a good one. Shamoon and Stuxnet, two major pieces of malware to hit the oil and gas industry. Shamoon completely crippled every computer in their company. 33,000 computers went dead at the same time. Unrecoverable. Could not be recovered, ever. They were bricks. They called it, you know, when you brick your bomb. Every computer in their company that had that piece of malware on it, which was estimated to be a little between 33 and 35,000, they never would release the official number, went dead at the same exact time, on the same exact day, at the same exact millisecond, and could never be recovered. They had to be repurchased hard disks for those things, because the hard disks were completely useless. I mention it because it was an odd attack, because it's purely destructive. Most people want to steal your data. They don't want to brick your machine. So there was something going on there, and it's a lot of, if you read about it, some weird stuff going on there. Whoa, I went too far. So this is kind of, I'm not a recruiter, by the way. I work at BP, and I'm here representing myself and talking on behalf of MIS for Dr. Lawrence. But if you're interested in this, y'all can read what it says. You want to work with us for a summer? We had 2 interns normally every summer. We already have our interns for this summer, I'm sorry to say. You will have to fill out some online stuff at www.bp.com/careers. Just serve right there. There's a little thing that says students and graduates. You click on that. And when you get in there, there's some other links and stuff in there you have to follow around and read about it. You know, it talks about how do I apply to become an intern. Pretty good program, pretty good deal. Get paid, get to work with some cool stuff. Maybe even be on our team. There's plenty of different ones. You don't have to be on the cybersecurity team. There's plenty of them in the networking group. There's the cybersecurity group, you know, other groups that have internships. They'll all be, I think you apply for all of them through the same link. It's kind of generic. You kind of talk about what you would like to do, what's your major, you know, and all that sort of stuff. You do have to have pretty good grades. So I would apply anyway, because one thing it talks about in there is not only do you need to work hard and have good grades and stuff, but at BP we have a lot of values, and one of them is courage, you know, and eagerness, excellence, etc. So, you know, if you're a little bit scared about applying, you think you might be interested, apply anyway. What could it hurt? You know? Yeah. Oh, sorry, we got 5 minutes. So we're going to stop there. See if there's any questions for me or Dr. Barnes or anyone else. Yes, sir.
I have a question for the certification for SAP. Whenever you take the test, is it a one-time thing? You take it and you're certified for life, or do you have to take it every so often years?
It's for life.
For life?
Life.
I can
One
take
time for only $500. If you waited and did it in the real world, it cost about $1,500.
Yeah.
I can tell you for my certification, you have to get continuing education credits, and so you do have to study every year and take other things online and other trainings. But normally, once you get certified, it's something you're certified for life as long as you pay your annual dues or whatever it is, and then take continuing education credits. Anybody else? Yes.
How do you stay up to date
With industry? Yeah, so we pretty much, where we're at, we kind of lead the industry, so I'm lucky in that respect. As I've mentioned, we stay with the highest leading new products and new techniques of doing things that there are. And not to give away secrets or anything, but at BP we partner with universities. So we have some major partnerships with some very well-known universities. I don't think I'm supposed to mention them here, but one of them is way up in the Northeast in Massachusetts somewhere. And anyway, we partner with think tanks, so to speak, that say, hey, these are graduate students that have the next best thing that's going to ever revolutionize whatever it is. And it may be something within our group, or it may be something that helps our drillers. It may be something that helps, in the accounting group, for all I know. But I do know within the cyber team, we have hooks into universities like that, where we're going to see what are these super duper brainiac students that are going to be patenting the next super duper $1 billion piece of software. What does it look like today? And can we invest in it now? Can we pay that research group, some money to do that? So that's how we do it.
Yeah, Rodney, I think it's true for all of us in the field of MIS. Because it's a dynamic field. What I learned in school 15 years ago, nothing is dynamic.
Yeah.
They're all given box.
One thing I have learned about,
Yeah.
and one thing I like about MIS is that you have to keep learning. I mean, it's just like they said. But the things that I've learned along the way, just build on top of one another. So once you learn how to learn, then you can learn. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do you have any questions?